In version 27, we've made a couple of changes, as well as the great addition of a new Analyze feature, which is part of the trade page. First, let's take a look at the changes to the navigation. You'll notice that the buttons at the top of the platform have been moved over here to the side. We have a couple quick access buttons for the activity, trade, and positions tabs, as well as icons for your watch list, tasty trade page, charts, history, follow page, and help center. If you hold your cursor over any of these icons, that menu will appear and the labels for those pages will show up as well. So it's still really easy to access all of these pages. We've just moved the buttons over to the left-hand side to make more room for the new Analyze mode, which is part of the trade page. So let's jump into the Analyze mode. The Analyze mode can be accessed from the trade page. And you'll notice the addition of a new Analysis button right up here next to our active trade page. So we have our table view, our curve, the active trader, and now the addition of the Analyze mode. Right now, the Analyze mode can only be accessed when using the curve. So let's jump over to the curve and we'll click on Analysis. And you can see when I do that, we have a completely different view where it shows an existing position right now in XLU. It also changes the right side panel, and you can see that there's some changes to the navigation over here as well. You can quickly jump back and forth to any of the things that you want to view inside of here, such as the overview, which is going to give you some information about the symbol that you're looking at, your position in that symbol, and then your activity. You can click on a watch list and activity and also your alerts as well. So everything is still here, just looks a little bit different. But let's focus on the Analysis tab on the right-hand side panel. Within this window, you can see our existing position. We have a strangle, short the 49 put, and short the 50 call to make up that trade. You can also see that it's not doing so hot right now. It's down about $69 at the moment. Additionally, we have some controls for the Analysis feature. And the Analysis feature is going to allow you to simulate changes in the price of the underlying ETF or stock or whatever it is that you might be looking at. It's also going to allow you to simulate changes in time. So you can analyze the position as it stands at the current date, or you can see how the passage of time is going to impact you. Maybe it's going to result in a profit because you've sold an option and time's working in your favor, or maybe it's a warning sign that you need to do something with your long option because it's going to start to lose its value as time passes. Whatever it might be, you can adjust it right over here on the right-hand side. And you can adjust it by clicking on these arrows, and you can see it, but as I do that, that now changes the date at which we're analyzing this position. You can also open up a menu, which will easily allow you to jump to any date that you'd wish. Down here, you can analyze and change the implied volatility for the option that you're looking at. And so if we wanted to simulate a jump in implied volatility and see what impact that has on our position, we can do that by increasing the implied volatility to 5%, 6%, and so on. And you can see the difference in implied volatility between where it currently is for that expiration, 23%, to 29% as we've increased it by 6. And just click on the down arrow and that will get you back to 0 or allow you to decrease implied volatility and simulate what that environment looks like as well. So now let's take a look at what's displayed to us as part of the Analyze mode. You'll notice the familiar looking profit and loss zones that you might be familiar with if you've used the curve or table before. But now, when you hold your cursor over this, a dialog box appears. And if you train your eyes towards the top of the platform, you can see some more information. We have the date that we're looking at in terms of our analysis. We have the current price that we're focused on with the cursor. So as I move this left or right, you'll see that as I move it to the left, we're now looking at the price moving lower. As I move it to the right, we're looking at the price moving higher. And then we have two different profit and loss values. We have the profit or loss at expiration. So given this position, we sold it for $1.15. We did it one time. The most that we can make is $115. So it's pretty straightforward. Our profit or loss at expiration, in this case, if we have the stock price right at $49.52, in between the short strike of 49 on the put side and 50 on the call side, will result in a profit of $115. And it's really nice to be able to see that and know that even though we're down right now, if we chop around and we stay here and time passes, we'll be up and we'll have a profit on the trade. Additionally, we can see our theoretical P&L for the date that we're using to analyze this. So even though it's not March 12th, we can see that as time passes, if we stay right where we are, we won't necessarily be at expiration, but we'll certainly have a profit on the trade. And we can look at this and think about different conditions where maybe it stays where it is and volatility decreases. What impact does that have? And you can see as I decrease volatility by even 1%, that theoretical P&L starts to increase a little bit, which is exactly what we want to happen when we sell options. We want the implied volatility to go lower. And so as we make adjustments over here, that'll be reflected in our dialog box, and we'll have a good sense of how those changes in the market might impact our position. Additionally, we can see the worst case scenarios. We have a strangle, we're neutral on the underlying stock, but let's say that it moves higher. If it moves higher, we'll lose a couple $100 as we get a couple points away from our short call. We can also simulate that on the downside and see that, for example, if the price of XLU is about $46.50 on March 12th, which is about a month from now, we'll be down $132 or $131, on the trade. If it stays there at expiration, it'll be down about $132. So you get a pretty good sense of, as this moves higher or lower and outside of that profit zone, what will your loss look like? So you might be asking, where does the theoretical P&L come from? And what this comes from is simply just the Black-Scholes options pricing model. And we take the inputs that we have over here, such as the amount of time, the underlying price, the implied volatility, and this gives us a theoretical value for our options and subsequently a theoretical profit or loss for our position based on those inputs. A couple other things that I want to point out are the controls at the top of the page. So everything is the same compared to what you've been used to with your table button, your curve, and active. We have the addition of the analysis button. And then you also have the ability to quickly open up an option chain for the call options or the put options, or we could buy or sell stock if we choose to do so. And our strategy menu is up here at the top as well. So this is going to allow us to quickly set up a new trade on top of our existing position and simulate the impact that it might have. We have a strangle, but maybe we want to sell another strangle outside of our existing strikes. We can then get a sense of what that might look like if we sell it in the same expiration or a different expiration, and we can make adjustments to the implied volatility for that time period as well. So there's a lot of really cool things that you can do, and look at the different positions here. You can get a sense of where your existing position stands. You can start to analyze new positions. You can analyze the impact that a new position will have on your existing position, and you can also make changes to the overall market conditions. Like I said, changing the amount of time until expiration, the implied volatility, and simulating different changes in the underlying stock or ETF's price. Additionally, just below the controls at the top, we have the ability to add or remove some of these different displays. So if we want to remove the line for our theoretical P&L, we can click off of that, and you'll see that that'll disappear. We can also remove the line for our profit or loss view at expiration, and that disappears as well. Clicking on these buttons again a second time will add them back. And just to the right, you'll see that right now we're not viewing any changes in the position's Greek values. But let's say we want to get a sense of how our delta might change as the ETF moves lower or higher in price. Because if that were to occur, maybe we need to do some sort of management. And this is really helpful because if we view the change in delta, we can get a sense of at what strike we're going to want to start to step in and maybe neutralize those deltas at that point in time. And you can see here that as we go lower, which makes sense because we have a short put here, as we go lower, we start to pick up long deltas, and now this becomes a really bullish position because we have 80 long deltas compared to a relatively flat position with it at its current price. And as we move higher, the opposite is true as well. We pick up a lot of short deltas, and now we really want the underlying ETF price to move lower. So you can simulate some changes to your Greek values, and as you open that menu, you'll see that you have the ability to look at gamma, theta, vega, and rho as well. But a lot of times I'm going to look at delta or maybe nothing at all and kind of clean that view up. Additionally, we can look at the distribution curve. And so we have our default distribution. This is the same thing that you're going to see on the curve view. So this is just simply based on the implied volatility for the number of days forward until the expiration. This option expires, or these options expire in 31 days. So we can see the current distribution based on the implied volatility for XLU. And then we can also see what that distribution looks like should implied volatility change. So we can simulate that increase or decrease. We simulated the decrease here, and a 4% decrease starts to give us a different distribution, as you can see up here on the screen. Additionally, we can remove these profit or loss zones for our theoretical values or at expiration, and we can scale our view as well. So if we want to change the scale, we can increase it or decrease it, and also zoom in or out. So this is the new Analyze mode on the Trade tab as part of the tastyworks release version 27. If anyone has any questions, you can certainly reach out to our support, and I also encourage everyone to fully read the support article here in the Help Center because it's got a ton of information and covers everything and more that I just discussed here in the platform.